Hey everyone, Paul here. Thanks for tuning into the METUS Tech Show. On today's show, in honor of International Women's Day, we're going to be talking with Taylor Kristiansen. Taylor is an area sales manager for METUS. She's in the Vermont and Western Massachusetts area. But before we start the show, we want to introduce a new segment, and we're going to call it the METUS Minute. And we're going to discuss a technical topic, and hopefully it'll be a minute or less, maybe more. We'll see. Who knows? Today's METUS Minute is going to be on compressor discharge temperature. Bryn, take it away.
Thanks, Paul. We refer to our compressor discharge temperature as TH4. Typically, we want to see this temperature between 160 and 200 degrees. This is a good indicator that the system is running properly and has adequate charge. If TH4 is significantly below 160 degrees, this commonly indicates a bypass, where too much liquid refrigerant is returning to the outdoor unit. This could be from an LEV or solenoid valve that's stuck in the open position, or it could be the result of a system that's overcharged. If TH4 is significantly above 200 degrees, this could indicate a restriction, where not enough refrigerant is returning to the outdoor unit. Common restrictions would be LEVs that are stuck in the closed position, or maybe debris in the system that has plugged a strainer or other small orifice in the piping. It could also be from an undercharge, which is probably the most common, resulting from a leak. So next time you're on a service call, be mindful of TH4. It is one of the many indicators of a healthy system. Thanks for listening. Now let's start the show.
The METUS Tech Show.
Welcome to the METUS Tech Show, a show for HVAC professionals by HVAC professionals.
I like how you guys bounce back and forth between heat pump talk and food talk.
The METUS Tech Show.
Mitsubishi.
I understand that Vermont has a hidden burger place, and I love burgers, so I need to know where this is and what makes it so special.
Yeah, so it's in a little town called Royalton. It's called the Worthy Burger. And what makes it so special is, like many hippie things in Vermont, it's farm to table. So the beef, the veggies, everything they use is sourced from farms in Vermont. So that's pretty awesome. And then another thing they do that's special is the fries are cooked twice in Wagyu beef tallow.
Wow. That sounds really good.
Yeah, so you really can't get any better. And then all the burgers are handmade that day and cooked over a wood fire.
Wow. See, what did I say last time? We can't record these things before lunch.
Yeah, especially when I just had a yogurt and a balanced breakfast thing. It was terrible.
I'm
terrible
fasting.
lunch.
I'm fasting until 4 o'clock. This is not good. Anyway, so where's this place? How long of a drive is it from our office in Massachusetts?
I would allot probably 3 hours without looking at Google Maps, but you got a nice scenic mountain drive to get there. It's in Royalton, Vermont. It's called the Worthy Burger.
The Würzburger?
Worthy Burger.
Worthy Burger. Yeah. Okay, yeah, I'm deaf in one ear, can't hear out of the other.
Now, where is that in reference to Lyndonville, Vermont?
That's a good question. So Royalton's sort of north along the New Hampshire border. It's like north central.
Okay.
I'd have to Google map your Lyndonville question.
The only reason I bring
There's
that
so
up,
many small towns.
Yeah. The only reason I bring that up, I got family in Lyndonville, so I kind of reference everything from that. But
you're definitely probably within an hour from there, I would assume.
Yeah. Okay.
It says 90 minutes on Apple Maps.
Wow.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's good. So, Taylor, I have a question for you. Where, being from Vermont, do they put maple syrup on this burger?
They definitely have they have specials all the time, and they do all kinds of different burgers. I'm sure that they do maple, but you know what? They have craft spirits and beer there, and they definitely have like maple stouts and stuff like that. I mean, of course, because it's Vermont, right?
Okay. Nice. Okay, so one more annoying Vermont question. When is the last time you saw a moose?
It's been a couple years. Really? I know a couple guys that got their moose licenses. It's like a draw here in Vermont to get a permit to hunt moose. So, and I know a lot of guys have had a hard time lately. Not a lot of moose spottings, but definitely plenty of bear.
Wow. Yeah, I've never had moose. I wouldn't mind trying it, but it tastes good. I bet it's like
lots of game suppers here if you want to come.
Yeah, I'm in.
Yeah, I've had moose chili before.
Chili.
Yeah, that was.
We'll have raccoon and squirrel and all kinds of meats.
Squirrel. I've had
at these
squirrel.
game suppers.
Yep.
All right, welcome everybody to the METUS Tech Show. My name is Paul Shavs. Joining me in studio is Bryn Raptor. Bryn, say hi.
Hello.
And also Steve Pimentel. Steve, say hi.
Hey.
And joining us remotely is Taylor Kristiansen. Taylor, you are on the METUS team. Tell us what you do now for METUS.
Sure. So my current role is area sales manager for Vermont and Western Massachusetts.
All right. And you started in the HVAC industry as a tech. Tell us how you started.
Sure. So I came from, my dad has a large mechanical contracting company in southern Vermont. I was one of those kids. I really struggled to get through high school, not, grade wise, just attendance wise. I was never accepted into, a target or a trade program for various reasons. I live in Manchester, Vermont's sort of a high-end town, and they just wouldn't let me into what they call the target program during high school, which I would have really benefited from. It's one of those programs that allows kids to go to school at a flexible rate, but also have jobs during the day. And I wasn't allowed in there because of my dad's income was too high for me to get into that program, believe it or not, which is a topic I think we'll touch on with the trades later in this topic.
Yeah.
So I ended up joining my father's company, and I learned, pretty much every aspect from the ground up. And he does, HVAC, plumbing, and sheet metal. So, I have a welding background. I have, multiple Vermont plumbing and electrical licenses.
Wow.
And I spent some time in the field. I did office stuff. I wore all kinds of hats.
Wow. And we wanted to have you on. First of all, we wanted to have you on, but we picked this week because we just finished, I think a couple of days ago, International Women's Day. And I think it's great that to see women in this podcast. A couple of years ago, in this trade, and the podcast as well. But a couple of years ago, we had Cree from Boston Douglas. She's a business owner. We had a young girl, Bailey, who was a high school student, actually working in co-op, going to school and working in the trade. And we had Kelsey, who's probably one of the smartest techs I've ever seen come through here. And I think the last time I looked at the statistics, there was only 2% of our industry, the HVAC industry, are female. And that aggravates me for several reasons, because we're going to talk about labor shortages, and we can't fix our labor shortage with just half the population. And the other thing that annoys me, and this is just personal, probably, I don't know if this is going to come out right, but you shouldn't have to be recognized as a technician in the trade just because it's International Women's Day. It should be just any day you're a tech. So I'm kind of, I don't know, I guess I'm kind of two-faced, because we have you on because it's International Women's Day, but we should have you on anytime because you're a technician and your gender shouldn't matter. That's just my opinion.
Absolutely. I totally agree. It's a very equal playing field we got in the trades here, believe it or not.
Yeah. So you learned the trade on the job training in your dad's company?
I went to the School of Hard Knocks. I have no college education like many people in the trades. And, in my humble opinion, I feel like that has served me incredibly well.
I agree.
So far in my career. And
are there any other women that were with you there, or were you a bit like breaking that ceiling and the only one there?
Like I tell everyone that asks, so it was just me and a bunch of dudes. And my grandma was in the office. She was the office manager for my dad's mom. So true family business. But it was just me and a bunch of dudes, and that's why you guys might have to bleep out a couple of things.
Yeah, no worries. Taylor, so your dad's business, what kind of systems were you working on? Residential, commercial, both?
So he's about 50-50 commercial, residential.
Okay.
So, my experience with Mitsubishi in the field was, big city multi-systems commercially for institutions and medical offices, places like that.
Yeah. So I think recently, like maybe in the last 3 weeks, we connected on LinkedIn. And when I looked at your page, I saw you standing on a ladder. I think it was a city multi-system you were working on. And I'm like, wait a minute. She's in sales and she was a technician. This is like huge, right? And I also heard that you're pretty good at maintenance tool.
We'll be right back.
Hey, listeners, if you like the METUS Tech Show, you should check out our YouTube channel called the METUS Training Network. That's METUS Training Network. Head on over to the METUS Training Network for tons of videos and programming made for HVAC professionals just like you. We've got technical training tips, HVAC program updates, and episodes of our new HVAC talk show called The Comfort Zone. Of course, you also get to catch up on more episodes of the METUS Tech Show as well. Head on over to YouTube and subscribe to the METUS Training Network today. Now, back to the METUS Tech Show.
Yeah, so I have I tell all my contractors that are tech savvy about this maintenance tool. Like I said, I've personally only used it commercially on the city multi-systems. It does work on our M&P series equipment with a special converter cable. And my biggest brag about the maintenance tool is it's just incredible how far diagnostics and these digital tools have come. So with that maintenance tool, you plug into an MNet board with alligator clips. You plug into your laptop. So on a city multi-system, you can see much more parameters just because obviously there's so much more to the system. But you can literally check pressures, see the status of our EEVs or LEVs, as Mitsubishi calls them. And then you can see all your thermostat readouts, pressures, all of that stuff. So if you're really tech savvy and you know how to use that maintenance tool, you can troubleshoot an entire system, essentially without gauges and tools.
Absolutely. Yeah. And we do a lot of episodes here on the METUS Tech Show with maintenance tool. I got another question. So out of all the systems you've worked on, what would be you considered? I want to know two things really. What's your favorite system to work on, whether it's Mitsubishi or any other brand?
Sure. So the city multi-systems, that was like my thing. I totally geeked out on that. I downloaded that whole 600 or 700 page manual for that maintenance tool. And, when I was evacuating the system, I bookmarked that, I dog-eared it, I highlighted it. So City Multi is just such a beast. I love large scale commercial.
Okay. Yeah.
That just always. And my biggest thing with my experience with commercial and residential, commercial as a technician or a service person, you show up, they have a problem, you fix it, you are the superhero of the day. You're paid and they're happy. Residential, sometimes it's a different story. Sometimes it's, they think it's your problem to begin with. It might not be anything related to you. And sometimes it's tough to deal with an angry residential customer.
So as far as your favorite, you lean more towards the service side, or did you like anything about the installation side?
So I honestly didn't have I didn't do install. We had install teams.
Okay.
My thing was commercial preventative maintenance and then service and controls. I specialized mostly in controls as well, low voltage.
Awesome. That's great.
So is your dad's business still around? Is he still in the trade? Did he retire?
Absolutely. No, he's still around. He's been in business for 40 years.
Do you want to plug him? You can go ahead and plug him if you want.
So it's GSK Climate Control in Southern Vermont. That's my dad. I'm going to send him the link to this. So hi, Dad. Yeah, so he started with himself, a sheet metal guy, and another technician out of our garage when my twin sister and I were born in the 90s, to age myself. And he's grown his business into a 30-man plus company, very successful. He moved out of our garage into an industrial park, which he's the president of and has multiple buildings there. I'm just super proud of him. And he's a guy that he, in the 80s, late 70s, he went to college for this. This was his life plan. Actually, my mom's final project in college was our GSK Climate Control business plan. and he's run with that.
Right. So we mentioned the labor shortage, specifically in HVAC trade. How is your dad? I guess I got several questions. How is he getting? How is he finding help? Good help, and how is he keeping it?
So every contractor you talk to, their biggest problem right now, right, is finding labor. He works closely for the Vermont apprenticeship program. So, just like many other contractors, and it depends on the state, but, these guys are getting employer paid training, So he participates in that. He advertises on social media and places like Indeed, and he offers great benefits, livable wages. It's crazy because this industry nowadays, it's really not hard for a kid that comes in here dedicated, willing to show up to make six figures in a couple years.
It's not. When I started in this trade, I was an independent contractor, 1099 employee, paid my own benefits, did everything else. So it's come a long way. You got to do that to be competitive, to keep people.
Mm-hmm. He also has a presence at, all the career fairs and stuff like that. You got to participate in your community. And, it's not like it was the baby boomer generation where everyone, sort of had, those shop classes and a mechanical aptitude. You've got to reach out to these kids and tell them this is an opportunity, because unfortunately there's a lot of schools, high schools and colleges out there that are not mentioning this as an option, or they're giving it as a secondary option for kids that they think, would otherwise struggle, which is not always the case.
Yeah, we had Brian Orr on last week, and we were talking about this as well. And it's got to start on the elementary school level, showing the kids, there's not that stigma with HVAC, and people can go to an HVAC school, they can get a program, they can be making good money in a short amount of time without college debt. Yeah. And a lot of people are going to college. I think I mentioned this last week too. There's like 24% dropout within the first year.
Right.
And then it's only 46% graduate or something like that in the 40s within 6 years out of a 4-year program. So it's crazy. And they still have that debt. You go to college for a year and drop out, you still got debt. You go to a trade school and get a job in this trade, or actually any of the trades. So this is the best one though, but you get a job in any of the trades, you're going to be making pretty decent money pretty quickly and no huge debt.
Yeah. The greatest thing I love about our trade is, it's not just air conditioning repair or refrigeration. I mean, you need to know electrical, you need to know plumbing. When you go through school, you learn everything in this trade. That's the thing. Now I got a 16 and an 18-year-old that when they plan to go to high school and choosing their high schools, I told them, look, get yourself into a trade school and get into something plumbing, electrical. I didn't push them, to a specific trade, but they wanted to do what I do. So they went to our local vocational school, and I was shocked when I found out they didn't have an HVAC program. The great thing, I just found out yesterday, actually, that they're tearing the school down and rebuilding a whole bigger school, and they're adding an HVAC and in refrigeration program there. I mean, right now they're in one of them is in the medical field, so he totally went a different way. And I got my other son in electronics. So, but it's just a fantastic place to go, vocational world.
Taylor, I have a question for you. Did we hire you away from your father's business?
No. So I did do a year and a half stint with a manufacturer's rep agency in the industry.
Okay, good. Because I would hate to take you away from you. But that's another thing about this industry. You started off as a tech. You learned the trade as you're going along, and now you're working for a manufacturer, and you're actually out there representing us, as part of our sales team. And that's the thing. All of us, everybody here, Steve, Brandon, myself, all started in school, all started in the van, and work way up. And that's the thing about this trade. There's so many different things. You mentioned you specialized in controls.
Yeah, so there's so much you can do in this industry. You can pick and choose what you want to do. If you get good at it, it's amazing. And so controls for me was super easy, right? Because, most of the time there are definitely plenty of crawl spaces I crawled around in and fiberglass attics, this and that. But most of the time it's pretty clean work. I'm not lifting anything heavy, so long term for me specifically. And then also I'm kind of a nerd, right? So low voltage sequences and manuals, reading RTFM, please, RTFM.
Yes.
So what kind of controls, was it like a specific platform that you were working on with the controls, or?
I did a little bit of everything. So I was the in-house expert on the maintenance tool. There's competitor brands that have the same thing. I had sales reps for some of these competitors. I'd ask them for the tool and they go, where the heck did you even find out about that? Like, this is deep, like inside part stuff. It's just incredible, the amount of opportunities. And if you look for it, there's so much to help you do your job easier, quicker, better.
So do you stay up at night and read manuals? I'm just curious.
I have definitely, sometimes I'm a curious person, right? And my dad will tell this story. Like, back in the day, baby boomers didn't have, can you imagine being on a job, you didn't have a cell phone to call anybody and you didn't have Google?
Yeah,
I don't have to
remember
imagine that. I lived
it.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're gonna date
I
ourselves.
can't imagine it.
Listen, I'm going to tell you this. It's if I had to call somebody at the office, I would have to use the customer's phone, call an answering service of the office, and have them punch in a number to call the people back. So it was crazy. There was no Google. I had to figure things out because if I couldn't figure it out, it would take me 10 times longer than it would now.
So I come from the days of carrying a beeper, and then you would use your phone and you would use special numbers to create. And if you flip the beeper over, you can actually write things into the beeper, like hello.
I think you got 10 letters, though, right?
Yeah. So, but no, seriously though, I think about it now. We take our phone out and we go to Google Maps or whatever it is, and we type in an address in Boston, and we just go there. It just leads us there. And I used to drive in downtown Boston looking for a 7-Eleven store that I had to service, and I had a book, a map on my knee, driving at the same time, trying to look and see where I'm going. It never told you which streets were one ways.
Yeah, no.
So you're just like, next thing you know, you're back on the highway going the opposite direction. Like it was terrible.
I had 3 books. One of them was just a highway map, regular map like you'd see, and then there was I think it was
one by towns,
a blue book. Every town was on every page at a time. Boston was like 15 pages.
Right.
You had to know what section of Boston you were going in. And the thing is, you take a right and it's not the right one. You have to pull over, stop, and look at the map. In the winter, you didn't have enough light. There'd be people screaming at you.
And then the brick phone came out. We had the Nextel brick, and that was like revolutionary. Now we can just open our phone and go on MyLink Drive and just do whatever. And
I think the closest thing that me or Taylor would have, it's because I actually worked in Southern Vermont when I first started, is no cell service. And it's like, you just feel like a lost puppy. Like I don't have manuals, I don't have a cell phone, I don't know where I'm going, and it's incredibly isolating.
Can you read a map?
You guys did that all the time.
Can you read a map?
Define read a map.
Okay.
I can zoom out on Google Maps if I don't have it in my GPS.
There's a guy who works for us who's probably your age, within a year or two of your age. And his parents have a summer place. It's either New Hampshire or Vermont. I forget where. But without his phone, he can't get there. A map would be useless to him. Are you that guy?
No, I don't know.
Okay. Taylor, can you read a map?
Literally,
So Paul, I'll admit I have a hard time orienting myself without a phone.
Okay. All right. At least we're honest here.
The thing is usually once you drive somewhere once or twice, you don't need the GPS anymore. You just kind of go by memory.
I have a good visual memory, but I got to get there first.
I can drive to the same place every day for 6 months. And then if a year goes by and I haven't been there, I need the GPS. I forget how to get there. That's where I am right now, stage 3.
There were a lot of challenges in the 80s and 90s that you guys probably, couldn't even imagine.
I had one time where I had no cell service. And it was the middle of the winter, and I was going up a hill. And right as I'm about halfway up this snowy hill, a tractor with chains on it pulls out in front of me, and I slid As soon as I put my brakes on, slid right into the ditch. And I had a mile walk to the customer's house, and I go to use their phone, and they had no power. And that was like, I don't even know what what I'm going to do now.
Yeah. What about HVAC tools? Now, HVAC tools, you and I, Paul, what do we have? A pocket thermometer? That was like a Casio watch.
I had
it was like huge.
I had a sling psychrometer, that I had to actually spin around. It wasn't digital. Yeah. My manometer was actually a U-tube with red liquid in it. Right? And I had what do you call the one with a gauge?
Yeah, you got beakers and flasks, and you're trying
to
figure out the wet bulb.
Yeah. No, I used an analog meter because I didn't like digital. Because an analog meter, if a switch is opening and closing really fast, you can see the needle move. You can't always see that with a digital. I actually misdiagnosed something with a digital meter because it was a switch. I want to say it was a pressure switch, but I don't remember exactly. It was opening and closing so fast that my meter didn't show it. So I took my analog meter out. It worked great until one day I was on a rooftop unit and I went to check the voltage. So if you can picture this, I'm holding the leads, one in each hand, and I'm holding the meter like between my pinky and my palm. And I went to take a voltage reading, but I didn't know this because all the numbers had worn out. I was actually set for resistance. So it was a loud bang.
Yeah.
And that meter went flying about 50 feet. And I'm sitting there holding my leads and there's smoke coming out of my leads. So I'm glad I only paid $25 for that meter.
Yeah. And now we have a phone and we can record that and put it on TikTok.
Yeah, exactly. So, it would have been.
Couldn't do that back then.
Taylor, let's get back to you. Do you have any interesting stories, any like aha moments where you figured something out that no one would have expected you to figure out? I mean, I'm looking for just some anecdotal.
Yeah, I've been to plenty of jobs. I had one residential job I went to. They had a 1970s Lennox central air system with a state-of-the-art zoning board. And I open the door, I knock on the door, his wife answers, and she looks at me, she looks at my truck, she looks at my tool bag, and she goes, you're the 7th person we've called. Like 7th company.
Wow.
And closes the door. Her husband comes to the door, opens it, lets me in, shows me the basement. He's probably thinking like, good luck. And I figured it out. So what I was doing, they had 2 wire thermostats everywhere, and they were trying to get a common for smart thermostats I was putting in, or that they bought and they wanted me to put in. All of these pieces of equipment in the basement they were all air handlers with hydro air. So there were relays involved, very subpar install and wiring. It's one of those rat nest jobs. Yep. Anyone from the field knows what I'm talking about. And everything was wire nutted, no labeling, no reason to look at, what was this guy thinking when he put it in? And I figured it out. There was a bunch of commons, daisy chained, wire nutted between the coils and then the zoning board, which is on the other side of the basement. It was a pretty large house. It was like a 8,000 plus square foot. Wow. It was a mansion, I guess. So that was pretty awesome. That learning how to, when I called my dad and I got that maintenance tool running on that 90-ton, it was a 3 racks of master slave units on that city multi-job for a college that he put in 10 years prior. They're getting aged now. And I showed him my laptop. I mean, he was just absolutely blown away. You could see the entire refrigeration circuit, through the branch box to the heads. Like I said, all the thermistors, pressures, compressor status, those valves. It was just amazing. And he bragged about that for quite a while afterward.
Oh. So other than your dad, are there any other people in the industry who kind of helped you along or influenced you, or were those?
Absolutely. I've had the best experience. People ask, what's it like being the only woman? First off, I never walked into a room thinking about my gender.
Good.
I'm a tradesperson, so it's like these are my people. I don't care. And I have been so incredibly well received. There is not one tradesperson that I've met that has given me a hard time. I've had just a few homeowners that opened the door and shut it in my face because I was a woman. And then I had, my helper who I was supposed to be showing him the ropes. I'd squeeze his shoulder, say, call me when you get in the basement. I'll be sitting in the trunk. But I've had, every manager that I've had in every position has been a mentor to me. My dad obviously is a huge mentor. He has master plumbers and a service tech that taught me everything I know. They got me my hours for my licenses in the state of Vermont. It's just, that's one thing that I will, die saying in this industry is just the opportunities, the people, and just network. Put yourself in these rooms, talk to these people. And, my most valuable interactions have been with guys, Paul and Steve, your age, that if you just sit down and listen and ask them questions, you can learn so much.
She just called us old. Yeah.
I'm sorry.
She did also call you smart.
Yeah.
I tried to do it nicely.
I'm probably older than her father. So
I stopped dyeing my beard probably 5 years ago. I just gave up, and that's it. I'm old, That's the way it is.
But you bring up something, no, in all seriousness, though, it's the attitude. And I hope the few people that I see are the exception to the rule rather than the norm. But every so often I see people who, and I used to teach in the entry level at a private trade school, and some of these kids came to school and they really expected to sit there for a year or a year and a half, depending on the program, and not lift a finger, not put any effort into it, and graduate and make $100,000 a year. And some of these kids wouldn't even open their books. It was one kid was there for 6 months; his books were still shrink wrapped. But you show how important it is. You have to want it. This is one of those trades that you cannot stop learning. You have to keep learning. You never know enough.
Yeah, you remind me a lot of Kelsey. And we always talk about Kelsey, but she on one of the podcasts she was on, she talked about showing up on a job site with all of her makeup on, her hair all put up and everything. She was there for an emergency call, and the person said, "Yeah, we called a tech." And she's like, "Yep, that's me. That's all you got." So yeah, it's
and I'm happy for you that you really didn't have that what's she doing here type of thing. But I think we've come a long way as an industry, because if there was a woman when I started out, they would have been looked upon a lot differently than they are today. So I'm glad we've evolved at least beyond that.
And Brendan and I teach a lot of vocational schools that come here on field trips, and I'm amazed by how many women are in the trade now and going into the class. Because when I was in vocational school, no girls were. I think maybe one was in steam engineering, and that was like, whoa, there's a girl in that class. It's like, but now it's just more and more, and I think it's fantastic. There's so many opportunities. They're putting kids, like you said earlier, they're putting kids in a van, $90,000 a year to start. And that's just amazing.
Yeah, there's contractors offering, they'll pay for you to move. It's, they'll offer flexible 4-day work weeks now. There's so much, these contractors can do, tool programs, incentives. Unfortunately, contractors need to get a little bit more creative now to attract the younger generation.
Right. Yeah, I know several contractors in this area who stopped doing a 24-hour service. No emergency calls. Sorry, he goes out, because people don't want the overtime. They don't want to work. When I was young, starting out in the trade, give me the overtime. Give me. That's where you made a lot of your money. That's but now they don't do overtime. I also noticed that more and more contractors are not going to fix or work on everything. They select the equipment they're going to work on. We'll work on this manufacturer, but not this manufacturer. They're starting to specialize because there's so much work that they can be picky and pick and choose like that.
And I was in class this week, and I taught an advanced M&P class. There were 2 contractors in the class, and you're hearing this more and more. They do 100% Mitsubishi heat pumps. Mm-hmm. That's all they deal with. That's all they want to deal with. It's all residential. And they're installing these, a ton of them during the week. I was blown away by how many they install. And they're diamond contractors, so they're doing it right, and they're installing everything correctly.
Yeah, I think even next week we have 2 more from Royal River. We know they do a lot of.
Oh, are they coming in? Oh,
yeah, there's two students from there.
Scott Libby, 100% Mitsubishi heat pumps in Maine.
Right. I will say that making the transition, because as somebody who was in a completely different career and switched over, HVAC was great because it was such a low barrier to entry compared to other professions. Like there's a lot of professions out there that may pay comparable, but there's a lot of either schooling or a lot of cost investment. Whereas I went to school for a relatively affordable cost, and when I left, I was making more than I was in my previous career that I'd been at for 6 years.
Yeah.
So, it's one of those low barrier to entries, but high earning potential jobs that you can't replace.
Right. So Taylor, for old guys like me and Steve, as you called us, there's been a huge change in the industry since we started out. So what have you noticed from the time you started out till now? What is I guess what is your favorite thing that's happened in the industry since then?
Sure. So just diagnostics on, circuit boards, the inverter. Compressors is almost like a standard thing now. Variable speed, higher efficiencies, controls are getting smarter. There's other OEMs out there that they have boards you can put on these units that show, you can remotely change dip switches now, stuff like that. Change compressor frequency, speeds, fan speeds, just all remotely. It's sort of if you're good with low voltage and control sequence, relays, all that stuff, it's amazing how much you can get online, in the palm of your hand control of.
I hear a dog barking in the back, and we love dogs.
Yeah, sorry about that.
No, it's okay. We love dogs.
What kind of dog?
I have 2 rescue pit bulls. They are my children. Yeah, they're like the best thing that ever happened to me, of course. Every dog person loves their dog.
Fantastic. Yeah, I'm getting a puppy at the end of March. And me and my wife are excited. Yeah, it's like having a child.
I know it is.
Absolutely.
Listen, my wife was not a dog person when we met. We were dating, and I had a Dalmatian that I had for 13 years, and I had to put her down, and she went with me, but she had no emotional attachment to this dog. The dog was sickly by the time she met her. But I remember being in there, I'm bawling my eyes out, and the vet tech goes up to my wife, "Are you okay?" My wife says, "Yeah, I'm fine. When's lunch?" But then we got a beagle. I told her when we got married, I said, "Listen, I'm always going to have a dog. Do you want to get one now, or do you want to wait until we have kids?" She goes, "I don't want to be house training a dog and changing diapers at the same time." So we got a dog, and from the moment we got that dog, it was my wife's dog. This dog would mess with me. I couldn't rub her belly. My wife could. I couldn't put her harness on. My wife could.
Yeah, it's mama.
Yeah, it was her dog, and and she made it very clear. Now, my wife, if I was unconscious in the house and the house was on fire, she would absolutely risk her life to go get my kids out of the house, right? And she would risk her life to go get the dog out of the house. But if I'm the only one in there, she's like, "Oh, I can't really pick them up. It's kind of too heavy." So, it's her priorities. At least I know where I stand. And what are the dogs' names?
Riley and Bo.
Oh, is this he?
Riley and Bo.
Yeah, human names. I like that.
Bo in the old English spelling, B-A-U.
Yeah. But my rule is dogs have to have human names.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So our new puppy it's a pug, and it's very unique. It's completely snow white, which pugs are usually like brindle or brown, whatever. But we're naming it Stella.
Nice.
So
that sounds fitting.
Yeah.
All right, so let's get back to business now. Enough about dogs. As much as I love them, we got to get back to business. Taylor, we're reaching the end of our podcast. We'll give you the final word. Is there anything else you wanted to bring up?
Yeah, so I just wanted to emphasize huge opportunity people my age and the younger generation have now, because we have for every 4 skilled tradesperson that leaves the trade retires, we have 1 coming in. Business is all about supply and demand, right? So there's more demand is outpacing supply. HVAC is one of the only industries that you can walk into any room and literally everyone is a potential customer. It's just amazing. 50% of college graduates with a degree that graduate, out of those, only 20% obtain employment in their field of study. College is not the only way. And, because you don't go to college, that doesn't mean you're not as smart. I know unfortunately, I know a lot of waitresses, right, with, degrees. A welder pays off that debt a lot quicker than a barista does. There's a ton of success stories all around every small town, right? These contractors that started from nothing and grew their business into millions of dollars. All they had to do was consistently show up every day and constantly evolve with the industry as it grows. There's HVAC techs in oil fields now that, make 3 salaries. It's tough, hard work, but, talking about specializing, the opportunities are endless. Find something that interests you and follow it and keep going, and like I said, supply and demand. I mean, you could be employed by anybody if you just stuck with it. Keep learning, never stop.
Right. I agree. That's good words. And I don't want to diss the other trades, but the one good thing, not the one, but there's a lot of good things about being an HVAC tech, but you learn electricity. Yeah. You learn electricity enough that I bet you every HVAC guy could wire his own house. You learn enough plumbing, I bet you every HVAC guy could plumb his own house, and even you pick up a lot of carpentry along the way. So it's an underestimated trade. You can become an electrician, electricity. You can become a plumber, plumbing. But thermodynamics and everything else that you need, and I think it's just a great thing. But I'm biased.
Yeah, when I try and fix something electrical around the house, my wife is like, "You're not an electrician." I'm like, "Yeah, I am. Yeah. A little bit." All right.
Taylor, thank you so much for joining us. Wish you the best of luck. I think we've only met in person, actually, maybe once or twice.
Yeah, thank you so much. I appreciate this opportunity.
Absolutely. We'll do it again.
Speaking of burgers,
yeah,
I tried that Juicy Lucy you guys told me to try when I was in Minnesota.
Oh, all right.
I listened to that.
What's that?
I listened to that podcast episode.
Okay.
So the one that I got was it was the cheese that was inside was a habanero jack cheese.
Oh, that sounds delicious.
And then it had cheese on top too. And then it had fried jalapenos and fried onions.
Nice.
And bacon.
Yeah.
Oh, it was so good.
I watched like a 1-hour special the other day on fair foods. So if you're at the fair, you get all those food trucks that deep fry all these different things. And they had a double cheeseburger, double smash cheeseburger between 2 grilled cheese sandwiches.
Really?
Yeah. That looked probably, kill you, take 10 years off your life.
Comes with a defibrillator.
But the other thing that this guy was eating, he got a cotton candy, ice cream, and Fruity Pebble burrito.
Okay.
Wow.
So the burrito shell is a layer of cotton candy filled with ice cream, rolled in Fruity Pebbles.
Okay. So let me ask you something. If you were at this fair, if you were at this event and you had this food truck and they had that, and your wife Jen is with you, right? Is she going to let you get it?
Yeah.
No, my wife wouldn't.
Yeah, she wants me dead.
Yeah.
No, she doesn't.
My wife wouldn't let me get it. I'd be in trouble.
But anyway, we'll see you on the next one.
Take care.